All right, so once again, a warm welcome and a sunshine-filled welcome to Laura Neumann. She is out there talking about the sun, and we wanted to hear all about it, sun and solar. So, Laura, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy morning on a Thursday to be with us at the team of experts. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So please introduce yourself, let us know who you are, who you're with, where you're located, and all of the good stuff.
Well, actually, so I'm Laura Neumann. So I'm a solar specialist now, but I've also been a realtor, a real estate broker for 16 years. And I got into solar for 3.5 years ago because my real estate clients asked me for a recommendation. Anyway, long story short, you want to do something right, you do it yourself. So here I am 3.5 years later doing solar. But also the big thing is that so I'm based in the Bronx, but I go everywhere. I've done Long Island, I've done upstate, I've done even we also do New Jersey and other states, right? So I work directly with the installer, right? So I'm not like going for some big company or whatever. So I work with 2 or 3 installers locally, and then of course if I can even install in Puerto Rico. I have installers there, So basically, I'm like a broker, but not the broker that goes, "Oh, let me just try to be that middle person." Some people get afraid of that. They're like, "Oh, so that means you're charging." No, I work directly with installers. Whereas I used to work for some companies, because when I first got into it, I worked for like Momentum and some bigger companies to see how it works. And basically, the bigger companies say, "Hey, this is your solution." But it's not necessarily the best solution, it's just what they offer you. What I do is I say, "What's better for you?" And then I go with that installer that helps you. So that's the difference.
Amazing. Um, Very basic question. Does solar make sense for people? Obviously, should homeowners be getting solar?
Well, here's something that maybe not everybody knows. Not only should they be getting solar, but they will be getting solar because actually there's legislation already out there as of 2019 that in 3 conditions you already have to go solar, whether you like it or not. And eventually they will introduce more legislation. Right now they're doing what I say, they're doing the sweetheart thing. They're giving you the honey, they're giving you the incentives. Incidentally, New York City has the best incentives of all of the United States. And I'm not just saying that to say that, it's the facts. Our people, because I love the fact that I do real estate because I understand how the two go together, right? So in New York City, you get one of the incentives is the property taxes. So imagine your guy just bought a house, right? The interest rate is not the best right now, but actually, if for 4 years they get property tax breaks, so instead of paying $6,000, they might be paying 1,000 or less a year for 4 years. That's a nice break on a mortgage for 4 years. So that's one of the incentives that we have only in New York City. Okay, you don't have it in Westchester, Long Island. Anyway, but even without any incentives, it still makes sense, right? So I have like, examples, presentations, stuff that I'm going to actually be speaking at in Queens at the NARP event where I'll be educating people a little bit more. So the big thing with us in the real estate industry is we don't have any information on solar, but
Mhm.
yet we're selling houses with the stuff on the roof and we don't know what we're selling. How do we transfer it? How do we, you know what I mean? So I know a lot of agents just like learn the basic, oh, it's green, oh, it's giving you energy, but you don't really know what you're doing. And
Mhm.
there's so many things that you need to learn about that in order to help your people. And if you're a
Mhm.
buyer's agent now, you got to prove your worth.
Mhm.
So if you know how to talk to them about that, I think that's a plus for you as a buyer's agent.
Got it. Um, Yes, absolutely. In all of the years that I've sold houses, I've only come across existing solar on a house one time, and it was certainly was a learning experience for me. The seller was selling a house with a leased solar system, and so there were a few things that we needed to talk about and deal with in addition to the regular home buying and selling process. Can you t walk us through what's involved in whether you're a buyer agent or a seller agent, doesn't matter. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, doesn't matter. What is involved when there is a transfer of a real estate property, when there's a sale of a real estate property that's got solar on top of it? Both, I guess you can talk about both, whether it's owned already, owned, outright, and leased as well.
Well, actually, so yeah, that's a good question, right? So there's a few things that you want to look for. So whether, okay, when you're representing the seller, right? You want to make sure that you get the most bang for the buck. So, when you have a brand new kitchen or a brand new roof, you can say, hey, this adds to the value. But with the solar, you don't really know how to say, how does it add to the value? So how do you do that? So every homeowner will have an app that tells you the production, right? They will have their Con Ed bill, which shows you not only that they're not paying electricity anymore, or that they're paying a lot less, depending on how much the system covers, because sometimes it covers 100%, sometimes 80%, depending on the size of the roof and the usage. So you want to show, look, you're buying this house, you're not going to be paying Con Ed anymore. You're going to be, and so the bill proves that. The app also shows how much you're producing, but it's important for you to know, okay, actually, that's the buyer side. I'll get to that next. But anyway, so these are things that are selling points. And also, what if they just got the solar system 2 years ago? You want to show the property taxes to show, like a statement to show that they're getting a break on that and that they have 2 more years on that. So things like this help you to sell the property, okay? Now, the other thing is, and of course, the warranties, you have to make sure that you have the proper warranty, for the buyers to transfer it to them. Now, the buyers, you have to get those things from the sellers, but at the same time, now when you're looking at that, you have to look for stuff like, okay, so is it producing what it's saying it's producing? Because what if the system's not working, the way it should be? So if you're looking at the original thing and it says you're supposed to get 10,000 kilowatts a year, but then you look at last year's production, it was 8,000. You're like, something's wrong here, So you should kind of know what you're getting into. Also, a big thing, and you guys are going to remember me for this one. Whenever you drive by and you see solar panels on the roof, you probably never looked and didn't care. But here's the important thing, and I know brokers, one broker who you guys know in the industry for many years, will come to me with this problem already, who's got solar panels. So if you have a pitched roof, right? What you have to look for is, does it have critter guards? Critter guards basically like either a mesh or metal or something that basically fills in that gap between the panels and the roof. If you
Hmm.
go and drive by, you will see 70 to 80% of the houses do not have that. They'll tell
Hmm.
you stories like, oh, it's too small, nothing can fit under there. Not true. I have videos to show you how things fit under there. Squirrels, chipmunks. And what happens is they eat the wires. So let's say you're a buyer's agent and you're selling a house and you're buying that house and it's got panels, no critter guards. And it's been 3 to 5 years. Within 3 to 5 years, or just a little bit over that, you're almost definitely going to have problems with your panels because they will be eaten up by the wires. The problem is that they are not covered by the warranty.
Mm.
Everything else is covered but that. So many times a salesperson will sit with you and say, oh, you don't need critter guards, which I think is silly. But anyway, because it doesn't even cost next to nothing, okay, to add them. And so basically you sign something, you don't realize that's a waiver that you don't want critter guards, but you don't know you're signing that. Many people have seen that they do that. And then they'll tell you, well, that's not covered by the warranty. And you signed that you don't want critter guards. Meanwhile, if I didn't mention this to you, you wouldn't even know about it, right? Then you wake up one day. So something like that, like I'm just telling you, every time you drive by, look at these panels and you'll see how many people do not have these critter guards. So there's so many like things like that that's important to note. And there's too much for me to talk on a like 5 minute thing. So I actually I'm putting together training for a few of these things. And I encourage any real estate agent to reach out to me and learn about these things. And, I'm happy to even go to different brokers' offices to teach like a real course on this and really show people what they need to know, what, you know what I mean, to help their clients.
Got it. Thank you so much, Laura. And by the way, the floor is open to anybody who's got a question, right? So don't let
Uh,
me go
yeah, I
ahead.
just want to ask about the tax incentive. I
Mhm.
hear a lot of people, focusing on the tax incentive when you do the panel. You said how much tax break do you get every year?
Okay, so this is only one of the incentives. There's four incentives, but one of the incentives is property tax credit. So it is 30% of the cost of the system divided into 4 years. So let's say you have a $50,000 system, right? You get $15,000 off of that system, which divided into 4 years, about 3750 or something like that. Don't make me, if I remember the math correctly, but something like that. So if that person has like a tax of 6,000 bucks a year, now they're paying 22 something, right? Or 2250 or whatever. So do you know what I mean? Or 23, whatever it is. Don't, like I said, it's first thing in the morning, I'm still having my coffee, but you can do the math on that. So 15,000 divided by 4, and that's how much you get off your property tax credits. Now, off your mortgage, what does that mean? That's a few $100 off your mortgage every month, right? So and by the way, everybody gets that. Everybody. So the other incentives are based on if you're paying taxes, if you're, those credits. But the property tax credits, it doesn't matter what your income is, doesn't matter anything, everybody gets that. Even if you have an investment property that you're not living in, you still get the property tax credits on that.
So
Okay.
$15,000 a year, $15,000 total divided by over 4 years,
4 years.
and this
That's
amount
an
comes off the
example.
property tax, irregardless of the income.
Correct.
And this is in New York City?
5 boroughs only.
This is New York City.
Yeah, so this is the last time they're rolling out this, by the way, this incentive. And I do want to mention that you were talking about how you only had one property, right? Now, I don't know if you noticed, but as of 2 years ago, there was like, on Zillow, I know we love Zillow. On Zillow, there was a thing about like if you want a pool, if you want, you know what I mean? You can click on it, right? When you're searching for a house. But there was nothing for solar. As of 2 years ago, the solar button was added. Now, in the future, within 5 to 7 years, you're going to have people clicking on properties and clicking on solar. So the ones who don't have solar may not even show up in the search. That's the first thing. The second thing is because the government is pushing this, and like I said, there is a legislation, Local 9294. If you guys want to look it up, if you build a brand new house, doesn't have to be a building, even just a house, 2-family, single family. If you do an extension on your current house, or if you change the whole roof assembly, as of 2019, you must go solar. Okay, so the government's pushing this thing, right? And like I said, the incentives are here, but this is the last push for the incentives as well. Because what they're saying is as soon as 70% of New York is gone solar, they will get rid of the incentives. But here's the thing, 60 to 70% of your buyers will go solar within 1 year. Okay, they get 5 knocks a day on the door, phone calls every day, and they will go solar. So the thing is, you can help them, by the way, if you refer them to me. And by the way, I have a referral program. I give people a nice chunk of change, starting with $1,000 per installation or more, depending on how we work out. But like I said, they will go solar. So right now you might say, well, I only had 2 deals with solar. In 3 years, you're going to have probably 50% of your deals. In 7 years, probably 75% of your deals will have solar.
So one objection that I always hear, when you spend like 45,000, 50,000 or something like that on a loan, sometimes that they put on 25 years, some people will say that if you have all that amount on the top of your mortgage, and then they think about how much they are paying the utility bill, some say it doesn't make any sense. There is no difference. You're still paying indirectly.
I agree with you, which is why I don't do 25. Okay, I'll tell you what I do. Okay, because I agree with you 100%. So you have people knocking on your clients' doors and just hooking them into a lease, which, by the way, I never do unless it's an elderly person who doesn't have any tax liabilities. Otherwise, no lease. Makes no sense. Okay, yeah, you save what, like 20%, but why? When you can save like a 90% or 100. So what I do is I have a bank that I use that's a 20-year bank. But I use that bank because you guys also don't know, there's a lot, like I said, I have to teach a lot of stuff on this. The financing is huge, okay? Financing can get you like nobody's business. It's something called a dealer fee, okay? If you buy a brand new car, you'll notice that. The car is $17,000, but all of a sudden your loan is for 23. Why? That's the dealer fee. Same with solar. The bank I work with has no dealer fees. Why? Because I want them to have the cash price, okay? So let's say the cash price we said is 50, right? With a dealer fee would have been 70. And I'm talking about bigger system here, okay? Don't think that this is the average cost. Average cost is between 25 to 35, maybe 40 grand, okay? Don't forget, they get 60% back on that with credits, plus 5,000 from the state. So even a $50,000 loan turns to $15,000 out of your pocket if you use the incentives correctly, okay? When I say correctly, because some people think, oh, I got some money back, let me go buy a car. No, you put it back into your solar system. Now, what I do with people is I sit with them and I come out with a 3 to 5 year plan to pay it off. Why? Because you're getting 60% off or back, right, from the government, plus the 5,000 from the state. And let's say your tax liabilities are not 15,000 a year. Great. You have 5 years to claim these tax credits, whether state, whether IRS, okay? And remember, the New York New York City property taxes, you have 4 years that it gets repaid back to you. When you have all that money together, you put it back into the loan within 3 to 4, 5 years tops. You've just paid off 60% of your loan plus another 5,000. So all you got to pay from your pocket is the 15,000. But during these 5 years, if you pay 2 to 3 to 4,000 or 5,000 a year from your money, together with that money, within 5 years, you have nothing left to pay. So now you have 20 years of paying no loan to nobody, but you have your own system on your roof and you're not worried about anything else. And of course, your warranties and everything are 25 years. By the way, very important thing for you guys as agents, okay? If you're doing an inspection, what do we hate at inspections? Two things. The roof. If the roof is messed up, what does the buyer say? I don't have money to do a roof. Okay. Or when the electric panel looks like somebody got their uncle to play, I don't know what kind of, doctor something where they plug in things where they shouldn't plug them in. When we do solar, we actually can put part of the project is a new roof and even update the electrical box to make it up to code. Maybe install a brand new one or fix whatever's going on so that it's up to code, which means there's two things that you don't have to worry about. You don't have to have $1 right now out of your pocket. Okay, so let me tell you how this works. The best part about it is, as of now, they're still allowing this, which is to put the whole project together so that 60% that you're getting off on the solar system, you also get off on your roof and on your electric box. So instead of like $2,000, which you'd pay an electrician to update your electric box, you're actually, what do you call that? Is it somebody do the math for me? $600 or $800, whatever it is. That's really your cost, right? From that. And you're doing it with actual permits and everything up to code. And the roof, we're not talking about just put a layer. People do that. When I do roofs, I completely rip them apart, like from down to the basic wood. So when we do that, in the last month, I've had 4 roofs that I've done. Okay. A huge one that's $13,000, which by the way, they got a quote for 15 from somebody else. Another one that was like $10,000, another one that was 8. If you do the math on that, 60% off. My $13,800 roof ended up being like what, 5,000 something? But we have a 25-year warranty on that. Sorry, my solar people calling me. We have a 25-year guarantee on that roof, okay? Warranty, not only with the materials, but labor, okay? So now you have a brand new roof with the warranty, which by the way, if you sell that house in 5 years, 5 years you've paid off your solar system. In 5 years, you still have 20 years warranty left on your roof. That's money in your pocket that you can actually get on that house, right? Because you have a brand new roof with a warranty. And again, for the cost of what? $5,000 or $6,000? That's what your cost is.
And if I may jump in, I can attest to all of this. And unfortunately, this is all before I met Laura, but I signed up for solar about 5, 6 months ago. It's not installed yet because Yonkers is very slow with permitting.
Oh, yes.
However, my roof is absolutely very old, and I've got a pretty large house. I've got a 4,000 square foot house. And so it's going to be a very expensive roof, over $20,000. Um, and I went through, and it's very refreshing to hear what Laura said because I went through 2, 3 different companies and they all tried to pitch the lease first.
Mm.
They all tried to pitch the lease first. They never pitched a sale or they never gave me both options. In fact, I kept asking, give me both numbers, give me both numbers. I never said, look, I don't have any money. Give me the easiest option or the cheapest option or the cheapest to get started option. I told them, give me both options, give me both numbers so I can compare and decide which route to go. Um, and despite asking over and over, they just kept, pushing the lease numbers. I ultimately got for sale numbers, and it made a lot of sense. My whole system is coming out to around $46,000, and we're talking about a huge solar system with 20 panels, but also a brand new roof. And like you said, there's also the electric work included. And like you said, it's all through permits, and they do everything. We don't have to do anything. They take away the trash as well. It's a brand new roof. It's not a roof on top of a roof as well. Um, and so forth. And yes, of course, the incentives and and even the amount of money that obviously after the incentives, my total cost will go down by around 20 grand or something like that, right? Unfortunately, I don't have that New York City incentives. I'm in Yonkers, so the incentives are lesser in Westchester or anywhere else besides New York City, but still fine, there's incentives. But in the meantime, the gap, you have to put some money out of your pocket. So they were actually able to connect me with a bridge sort of a loan type of as well, where I can kind of have that financing and pay it off in, 18 months without interest. So, what Laura's saying is absolutely, spot on. And I like the fact that she's promoting the for sale rather than the for lease. So thank you so much for that, Laura. Please,
I
excuse
have a
me for
question.
interrupting you. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, we have an accepted offer yesterday with the property comes with a solar panel, and
Hmm.
my client they will need to do the transfer from the previous owner. When is the appropriate time to start like transferring, and what can my client be like focused on for the transfer of the?
So it's a lease, I'm assuming, right? That's why they're transferring. It's a
Hmm.
lease.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, a lease is honestly one piece of paper and it's done immediately. But you know what, Wilson, feel free to call me like when we get off this call because I want to make sure that you really help your client, okay?
Okay.
Because I want to tell you what to look for to make sure that you're not getting a house with the panels, there's something wrong, something going on. So I want to make sure that you got it covered, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, and I offer this to anybody, honestly. Like I want to help people understand what to look for, what, you know what I mean? So they can help their buyers.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick
Go ahead.
question, if I may.
Yeah.
How does like, if you're working with a buyer, how does if you take over a lease, a solar lease, how does it work with the underwriting of a mortgage? Is it done before, after? Because everything is going to affect your credit score, obviously. So
Well,
what's
actually,
your,
that's a
yeah.
good question. So some leases, they don't do hard checks. So when you take over that lease, it's not a loan, it's a lease. So your mortgage won't be affected typically. That being said, also the banks are different. Some banks look at it, some banks don't. Okay, so that's very important actually to note. One thing I want you guys to also know, even if it's just a lease, not finance, you can still, if you want to say if there's issues with the house or you want to like drive a hard bargain, you can actually work it so that they pay off the entire lease at closing, just the way you can work it out if you wanted to. Because by the way, you can also take over financing. So you can transfer a finance or a lease for solar to the new person. Okay, you can do that. But you can also have the seller pay off the entire lease actually before closing. So it's not just paying off the financing. So just so you guys know that you do have that option as well, if you so choose to, drive that hard bargain to get your buyer not to have any payments at all.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone else with a question? Or did I see something in the chat? Give me a second. I see something that just
Yeah, we know what is more expensive is the heating system. When you install the solar, is your heat included or this is still gas that you'll be using?
Great, great question. Guys, very important. While the government is pushing electric everything, right? They're pushing electric heat. I want you guys to understand electric heat is super expensive. It hasn't reached, so, like the split systems, right? That are HVAC, right? Split systems. They are wonderful for the AC. They're very efficient, but for heat, they're not yet very efficient. So your bill can go up 3 to 4 times. So if they do this after they get the solar system, it's not covered. Now, if I'm going to install a solar system and I know these people are going to get the HVAC systems, I will give them as much as possible because I know that the bill can go up 2 to 3 times, okay? Because it's not efficient. So it's, again, to answer short answer, if they already have electric heating and the solar, that again, when you're looking at the kilowatts, how much they're getting per year and looking at their Con Ed bill, are they covered 100%? If they have an existing electric system for heating and it's covered 100%, then yes, it's covered. If they don't have an electric heating and they still have gas or oil and they have solar, solar is covering only the electricity part, not the heat. But again, be very careful when you're trying to add the heat because with electric, because I'm telling you, we are not there yet. So it's crazy how they're pushing it, but technology is not there yet. So people are stuck with these crazy bills. And don't forget, solar can only cover as much as your roof can hold. So if you're using a lot of, of kilowatts, but your roof only has a certain amount that it can hold for panels, it will cover maybe 100%, maybe 80%, maybe 50%. So each home is different. That's why I
So
tell
if,
you guys need to know what to look for.
so if I understand, I already have electric heat. If I
Yeah.
want to use solar, then the solar will cover the heat as well.
So let's say I sit with you, right? The first thing I would need is your Con Ed bill, first page and second page, which shows
Okay.
me everything you're paying and plus what you're using for the whole year. How long ago did you get the electric heat?
I bought the house with the electric.
Okay, so you've had it for at least a year, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good, good, because that gives me 1 year history to see your usage, okay? So now let's say you're using 14,000 kilowatts a year, let's just say, right? When I sit with you and I see how much
Not
your
a
roof
year,
can hold.
only 4 months.
Okay, 4 months gives me an idea still though, okay? Plus,
Okay.
before your installation, let's say even if I sit with you tomorrow, right? It takes at least 3 months to get you installed, okay? So by then you have 7 months history. So we really have a very good idea, right? Plus you just went through the winter, which is the worst for the heating, right? So that's when you use it, really, not the summer. So you already have
Mm-hmm.
the important months, okay? That being said, when I look at your usage, if I tell you, okay, looks like you use 14,000 kilowatts a year, I can give you 14,000 kilowatts a year. Guess what? That means you're 100% covered. Though I'll tell you one other thing
Okay.
that people do. Some people are like, oh, I got solar. Now I can use electricity all day. I don't have to turn off the lights. I can leave my radio on. I can leave my TV on. And people do something silly. All of a sudden, instead of the 14,000, next year they're using 16,000. Then they call me up and say, hey, you told me it's going to cover 100%. Yeah, of your usage. It doesn't mean now let's just go crazy. You want to maintain your usage or even lower it, right? To make sure that you're covered. So that's also important.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there incentives, and I'm sorry if you covered it already. Are there incentives on the split units, installation
Yes,
of split units, and
yes,
moving away from
there are.
maybe? Hmm.
But you have to get rid of your current, like you have to disconnect your current heating in
Hmm.
order to get those, right? So I know in the city, or really, I don't think it's just the city, it's really all over. But anyway, it's around 5 to 10 grand, okay? And it depends on the zip code. So depending which zip code you're in or what area you're in, it's like some areas are 10,000, some are 5,000. But that's bring me to another thing I want to tell you guys. And I know this is not solar, but I research stuff because it affects my solar people. So that's why I've been researching this,
Hmm.
okay? Very important. There's Con Ed has a website that tells you which contractors they work with, but it's very misleading because you have them like bronze, gold, silver status, and you're thinking, oh, these are the best ones. No, it just means that they've done lots of installations, okay? But, and I've seen a few of them, and I ran into one of the work that they did in one of the houses, and basically they did not use permits. A lot of them are not using permits. So you would think, how could they be on a Con Ed website and not do things properly? Guess what? It's happening. But there was no enforcement of it. Now homeowners are getting knocks on their doors, and the government is basically coming over and saying, violation. And so I'm trying to help people get I'm still working on this, trying to find a good contact for HVAC, which is going to give you a good price, as well as do things correctly with permits. And I'm telling you, it's like a needle in a haystack. So be very careful also when you do that. Very careful.
Got it. What do you know what market penetration is right now for solar? Roughly how many homeowners have solar, or what is the percentage each year of people adapting solar?
Yes, yes. So this is what I'm saying. So right now, currently, believe it or not, we're already at 45% in the city. And like I said, right now from the real estate world, right? Basically between all of us, right, making sales, out of new homeowners, 60 to 70% will go solar within 1 or 2 years of purchasing their home. Okay, because the push is so aggressive. They're getting knocks on the door every day. And the government's offering very sweet deals. So they will go solar. That's what the statistics are showing, and that's what the government is pushing for. So that's their goal.
Your referral bonus is very sweet also. I did one referral, and I got $500. So
I know.
the fact that you start
I'm
with
so
a
sorry.
$1,000, that's really nice.
Let me tell you something. Sorry to interrupt you. This month, I've got 4 installations. Two are smaller. They're getting $1,000. Another installation, they're going to get 2,500. Another installation, they're getting 1,500. So you know what? I like to help people as well because you know what? I don't need to be greedy and hold everything for myself. The bottom line is there's enough to go around. Okay. So now, but here's the best part. I actually help the clients really save money. So my most important thing, why did I go into solar? Because my clients trust my reputation, man. They trust me with their eyes closed. Okay. They send me people. You know, there's a few people in the Bengali community. This is who they are. And now we know we have a few amazing Bengali agents that have come out and stuff like that. They even formed their own thing, right? But I still have my loyal ones. Why? Because they know me for like 12 years. And they're the ones who got me into solar, by the way, because they're the ones that got the Teslas and wanted me to do it. But again, long story short, for you guys, what's important for me, your reputation, right? Like if you're going to send me somebody, do you want to make sure that they're going to be thanking you or cursing you out because you sent them to me? So that's the number one thing I take very
That's right.
seriously. Okay. My reputation and of course your reputation, right? You have to take it seriously. So that's super important. And number two, the fact that you are also going to be making some money on the side and you can be confident that your guys are also saving the most money they possibly could versus going through some other company. Because you said something before, and I worked at one of these companies, three of them, and they always pushed their agenda. And they told me when I didn't know any better, oh, the lease is the best option. But then as I was there for 1 or 2 months, I realized, no, it's not. They're pushing that. So they told us, in this city, we're going to be pushing the lease. Do not offer any other options. That's what they say to you in training.
Yeah.
And you know the words they use? Analysis, paralysis. Don't give people options. So the training is mostly manipulation. It's not necessarily let's give people the best deal. And then when I left that company, that switched it over. So it was in Long Island and Westchester, they were pushing the finance, and in the city, they were pushing the lease. Then when I left, they switched it. They were like, in the city, we're going to push the financing, and outside, it's whatever works for their pocket at a given time. And now, again, that same company was trying to come after my clients, who, by the way, I just did the whole roof. I installed them and everything. They were coming after them aggressively to try to take them. But because I know how they work, I told my clients, oh, they came to your door? Don't say nothing. I'll tell you what they told you. When I told them that, they're like, oh, my God, that's exactly what they said. How did you know? Because I know how they work. They're trying to say we do tailored, customized to your house. So tailored, customized that I was able to tell them exactly what they told them. And really, if it's so customized, why are they telling you the same thing they're telling everybody else? Because it's not.
Let's keep those questions going. Laura's a
Okay.
treasure of knowledge.
So, Laura, do you work Connecticut as well?
So I'm going to tell you guys, I have dealers and you know all over like dealers. I have installers in Connecticut, New Jersey. I have yet to do one there. I'm not telling you I'm not going to do it. I will. If you send me somebody, I'll become an expert in that area. Okay. I'll make sure double check all of the stuff that's available for incentives, make sure I'm not explaining to the clients. But as of yet, I haven't done them. However, these installers I work with, I have a network. So I'm able to do it even in Texas. I'm able to do it in Puerto Rico. I'm able to do it. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of me focusing on that. So if you send me somebody outside of New York, I can do it. Do I know everything about it yet? No. Will I become an expert on it? Absolutely. Before I put anybody on the, you know what I mean, on the mat there.
Thank you.
By the way, Wilson, you asked for Laura's business card. It was already shared this morning or yesterday, actually, yesterday evening in the Telegram groups. So take a look there. Everybody, Laura's business card is there.
I also speak Spanish. I'm sorry. I also speak Spanish. In my website, if you click on a button, it gets translated to Spanish, because that's huge in the solar industry. Just so you guys know, the Hispanic community is targeted by the solar industry. Targeted. When I say targeted, I don't mean that in a nice way. So, and I tell you, I was very any solar company I went to, as soon as they see I speak Spanish, immediately like they wanted me. So it's huge. And so, I mean, just so you guys are aware, a lot of Hispanic folks, they do prefer in their own language. So just so you know, I do have that, option.
New
Thank
York
you.
City for a while had a prohibition for solar on flat roofs. I believe that has now changed. And although I see these ugly looking, structures on top of the roof holding the panels, I really don't like the way they look. But can you share anything about flat roofs in New York City?
Okay. First of all, they were never prohibited, ever.
Okay.
That was a story that roofers were that these companies are doing that don't do flat roofs. Okay, that's number one. Number two, again, a company I worked with. I don't want to say names, right? Because I worked with three of them, but a company I worked with, they didn't do those what you call the ugly. They're called canopies. Okay, they didn't do canopies. So now, just so you guys know, roofs. There's a code, right? You have to have a pathway for like firefighters or whatever to walk on the roof. So you can only install panels in a certain part of the roof, right? If you don't do a canopy. Now, when you have a flat, small roof, if you only 6 or 7 panels and these guys need like 20 or 8 panels or 15 panels, right? Then they're not, you know what I mean? They have to get a canopy. But what happens is a lot of companies didn't do the canopies. Now there's still that huge company that I'm telling you still doesn't do canopies. So they try to convince the person, hey, it's better to get this than nothing at all. Which, by the way, I agree. If you can't cover 100% to at least get even 50%, it helps you, right, with the costs. But if you can get 100%, then why would you go to the company that tells you you can only do 50? But you don't know that because they tell you this is the only thing you can do and there's no other option. But there is. Now there's 2 canopies, by the way. There's the canopy that is like, it's got like crisscross stuff, you know what I mean? Like basically, maybe that's the one you call ugly, right? So, but the bottom line is it does the job. It covers the whole roof, so you're able to actually, maximize your roof, okay? It's a little more expensive because the structure costs something, but it's worth it because you're getting your electricity covered for more than 25 years. You know what I mean? So it's still something that's worth it. So yes, there's another kind of canopy called the Brooklyn canopy. This one's even more expensive, but it's more elegant. So this one just basically doesn't have any crisscross kind of structural, design. It's just straight up like this. So you have all the space in between. If you want to use the roof or whatever, you basically have a true canopy so that, you can hang out the family up on the roof and do whatever, right? So you can get the Brooklyn canopy, which, like I said, looks more elegant, more clean. But again, the point of the canopy is to allow you to maximize how many panels you can put on that roof. And don't forget one thing, guys. They say the roof, like the biggest damaging thing to roofs, people think is the rain, is the snow. No, it's the sun because it dries out, you know what I mean? The roofing materials. So when you have solar, it actually protects your roof, believe it or not, where the solar panels are providing shade or where they're actually covering your roof.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right, who else? Well, you know what? I'll go again. Sorry. What's the timeline like, from, let's say, okay, sign me up to, wow, we're done. Here it is. What does the timeline look like? Is it different by city?
Yep. Like you mentioned, Yonkers, 6 months at least. Mount Vernon, almost impossible, but sometimes up to a year. Okay. In the city, within 45 to 65 days, we're done. So I've had installations within 45 days. I've had installations with 60 days. Okay. But let's just say to keep this like right expectation, let's keep it 60 days, right? Again, I have been able to get it done sooner. And then even after you're installed, right, you still have to get the permission to operate from Con Ed. So even after you install, it takes about 2-3 weeks for Con Ed to come over, do their inspection and say, all right, go ahead, turn the system on. So I want to make sure people are aware of that because I might think, oh, great, I'm getting installed tomorrow. I start saving. Well, you have to first also get Con Ed to approve it because, like I said, we do everything by the book. Everything has to be done the right way.
Amazing. Who else? Anybody else has a question?
Yes, I have a little question. I know my cousin bought a house in California, and a lot of times, a lot of months, he gets money back from the solar company or from the electric company. How does this something work? Like,
Yep. What we have here is called net metering. Now, just so you guys know, New York also used to have the money back. But let me tell you about that, okay? The quote unquote scam of that. Okay, now I know when you look at your bill, you see, 12 cents, 11 cents. But if you look at it the right way, after all the fees and everything, by the time you're done, it's really like 35 to 39 cents per kilowatt that we're paying in New York, right? Now, what they were doing was they were saying, oh, if you have extras, we will buy it back from you for 7 cents. Now you're telling me that makes sense for 7 cents. And then they would sell it back to people, okay, at 30 something cents. I think that's a pretty sweet deal. They were pretty smart to do that, right? But we don't, first of all, if anybody has that deal, they're grandfathered in, so they can still do it for 20 years. Okay. I see the question about a condominium. Condominium is very interesting. If it's an apartment, you can't. If it's I've seen condominiums that are actually houses, like set apart, and those you can actually put solar on them. But let me get back to you. So, man, ADHD, they jumped at me and now I just got sidetracked. Okay, so where was I? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, somebody help me.
Money back.
Yes, money back. Okay.
7 cents, 30.
Yes, you got it. So now, those people can still do it. I still discourage that. You know why I discourage that? Because let's think about how solar works, okay? In the summer, you're going to get as much sun as possible, right? And that sun, you're making more energy than you're using, hopefully, if you have 100% coverage. Now, what happens is gets stored in your Con Ed account, okay, as net metering, as kilowatts that is sitting there, and you can see them on your bill, okay? And then in the winter, when you have snow or like, shorter days and there's not as much sun, you use those. So Con Ed sends you electricity, but it's yours that they've been holding since the summer. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Imagine you sell back your extra and then all of a sudden you kind of run out. All of a sudden they paid 7 cents for your electricity, but then you need a few kilowatts from them. And now you're paying 39 cents per kilowatt to buy it back from them. It's silly. But anyway, we don't have that option anymore anyway. Okay. What it is now is just kilowatts are being banked for you, meaning, so whatever you produce that's overproducing on a given day goes into your Con Ed account in the grid, right? Goes back to the grid and it sits there in your account and your bill. And again, I have all sorts of things to show you guys, samples of these things. Again, if you guys ever want to do a class in person, I can actually show you examples, show you how this stuff works. But anyway, so you see on your bill every month. So you can see that you took from Con Ed 300 kilowatts, but you paid nothing for them because they were from your 1,500 kilowatts that they have in the account for you. So now you have 1,200 kilowatts, but now you're producing more anyway. So long story short, you can actually keep saving those kilowatts and passing it over to the next year and the next year. There is no, and by the way, this is going to change also within a couple of years or maybe less, like in California, Texas, different places, even some place in New Jersey, they don't let you keep all your kilowatts, only off peak, and they make all sorts of rules to make it difficult. But anyway, in the city, we still have that. And whoever signs up in this time that it's unlimited, they will be grandfathered in, just like those people with the payments, for the next 20 years, so that they can use the kilowatts anytime they want. Okay, that's very important. And let me mention one more thing. Remember I said the more people go solar, the more they're going to take away incentives? Well, one incentive that they're already starting to go back on is an incentive that you guys may not know about. It's an upfront incentive, which again, doesn't matter how much you make or anything. It's an upfront incentive. They're already cutting it back. So like say before it would have been $2,000 on this deal. Now it's going to be 1,400. Before you know, it's going to be 800 until it's zero. And there's also, by the way, another program that nobody talks about, and Ish, I don't know if you would have qualified for it or not, but there's a special discount, again, up front that you can get, and I make sure all my people apply for it. And many people, I've been to 3 companies, none of them applied for them, okay? But I make sure my people apply. Well, you can save a freaking $7,000 to $10,000 up front. So this is before you do the after, incentives and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that you guys need to know, a lot of ways to save money that you may not be aware of.
Amazing. By the way, Laura and I also are on the board of the Real project, and we're really excited about that as well. In fact, some of the folks on the Zoom here have been to the last event that we had at the Real project. So that's how we know each other, by the way. All right, I've got a question as well. Does the installation affect the roof? Does it ever damage the roof? I'm always afraid of nails and stuff like that near a roof, right? It just kind of doesn't really make sense to me. So, should homeowners be worried about their roof being damaged through installation or over time? And does the roof need to be brand spanking new in order for installation to happen? How old can it be? Can it be old 5 years, 10 years, etc.?
Great question. So first of all, should you be concerned? Well, of course, that's why you don't let anybody touch your roof, right? You want to make sure whoever does it, what is in place? Because we're human, right? Can a mistake happen or something? Sure. But what are the controls in place to help that, number one, to avoid it, and number two, how fast does it get addressed? Okay, very important. And by the way, I have proof of everything I'm telling you because I just went through this right now, and don't be afraid, and nothing happened to the roof or anything. But what happens is this. Okay, so what is the warranty for the company, right? Like, by the way, when you look at the reviews, very important. Look and see, are people complaining about that? Because that means something where they're not doing the installations right. Because there's the right way to do an installation and a cutting corners way. Because people say, oh, I want to save money, I want to pay. Right, but what are you saving money on? You're just getting glass on your roof, but what problems are you bringing along with that, right? Because the roof, as we know, is the most important part of the house. Like, your house could last 300 years if the roof is correct. Anyway, so what warranty do you have? Okay, and how do people handle it? So some have 5, some have 10 years of leak-proof warranties, right? But here's the thing. Remember one thing. If we do the roof entirely, the whole roof is covered for 25 years, no matter what. Solar, not solar, okay? That's number one. If we don't do the roof, your question, how many years? I won't say years. You know why I won't say years? I had somebody says, I just did my roof last year. When we looked at it, I don't know who did that roof. I would never hire them in my life, okay? And number two, do you know what I'm saying? Also, another roof was only 5 years old, but the way it was under a tree or something, some moss or whatever it was horrible. It was like rotted. It was only 5 years old. You would think, so we don't go by years. We actually get it looked at. And when you're buying a house, they do a roof inspection. Trust me, the solar inspection is a lot more involved because we don't just want to see, does it look good? Can it hold structurally if we're going to put something on it? So we actually walk on it. We actually look for soft spots and all sorts of things. So it's not like so every time I sit down with somebody, the first thing I tell them is, okay, let's sign up and everything, but don't forget, I have to do a roof inspection to see how that roof is. So we send somebody out to look at the house, look at the electrical, look at the roof, and then we tell them, okay, your roof is good to go, and we will install. Or we tell them, we're not installing on that roof. Would you like to redo it? I don't care if you want to use your friend one or if you want us to do it, but that roof needs to be redone.
Amazing. What about you guys? Any questions? We've got so many people on here. Lisa and Anthony, Carlos. I know Cassandra can't speak right now.
I'm good. So I have solar. I've had it almost a year. And I always wonder because I see the bill and I see my usage. But can you talk about this whole like delivery fee? Because we're still paying these like crazy delivery fees even with solar. Is that normal?
Wait, you shouldn't be paying. Wait, okay. Let's start from the beginning. First of all, between you and me, after the call, please feel free to send me your agreement, send me your bill, and we can go over it, okay? So I can get down to the bottom line for you, okay? And I will. Like I say this to everybody. I don't care if you have a mother, sister, brother. You want me to look it over? I'm happy to do that, okay? Anyway, so for you, it all depends on how many kilowatts did they promise you? Did they promise you 10,000 a year? Are you using more than you were before? But here's the thing. You should not be paying any delivery or any, anything because what are they delivering to you? So the only thing you should be paying is a connection fee, which I've seen $19, I've seen $35, depending on how big the system is, right? Because remember, there's a transfer going back and forth. Every time you send it back to the grid, they're sending it back to you. So, but that's all you should be paying if you have 100% coverage. So what I'm hearing is that you don't have 100% coverage. So now, I don't know if it's 50. Well, when they sat with you, what did they tell you? Did they say they can cover 100%, 50%? What did they say?
I don't, that's a good question. I'm not, I don't remember.
Can I tell you what gets me? It's like, so I can't explain it. I love educating people, right? I just love it. When I sit down with them, I want them to know what they're doing. You know how many people I talk to, they don't know who they got it from, what they got on their roof. And this is huge. What inverters do you have? Do you have the ones that catch fire easily? Or do you want to have the ones that are safe? Like, people don't know what they have on their roof. And they don't know what they're supposed to get. And it blows my mind. But let me help you with that, okay? Please send me the initial thing that you guys signed, which tells you what it is that you're supposed to get from them.
Right.
As well as, did you finance or lease?
We are leasing them.
I had a feeling. What company? I'm just curious.
Sunrun.
So you got the other inverters. Okay, fine. Yeah. So, all right.
Sorry.
Just look, I don't want to scare nobody, but just be aware. That's all. Okay. So, okay, another thing with Sunrun, because of the kind of inverters they use, sometimes you can have one or two panels that stop working, but you don't know that because it's a string inverter system.
I've
And you don't
actually
know.
been on the phone with them for quite some time because on the app it's showing that I'm not it just keeps saying zero every month. And then when I talked to them, they said to me, "Oh, it just might be the app and it's showing that you're receiving, but the app just may be showing that it's not. We'll send somebody to take a look." But I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Can I
No,
ask you a question? Is it on your Con Ed bill, is there a supply charge? Meaning, are you buying electricity?
Right.
that's what
So
she said.
yeah, so like it'll show like my supply charge being like $30
Okay.
and my delivery charge being like $86.
Right,
So you're
right.
actually getting it from them. You're actually getting something from them. So here's the thing. If they're telling you that, oh, well, it's working, just that maybe something's wrong with your app, no, no, no such thing. Second of all, maybe they're having trouble communicating with the app, in which case they need to, and how long ago was this that you contacted them?
Um, less 2 weeks ago, I've contacted multiple times, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna see if we can get somebody over there." They've done
Oh,
like
we're gonna
things
see.
like that.
We're gonna see. Honey,
Yeah.
you and me are gonna get on a conference call with them, all right? We'll get them over immediately over there. Okay. In the meantime, just so you guys know, I forgot to mention this. The installation I just did, right, where we Ish, you're asking about roofs and how, and even you, honey, how do we handle things, right? That's so important. First of all, my people have immediate attention because if not, I have a problem and I'm not working with that installer. So they have to take care of my people. So I just installed this guy, right? We did the new roof, we did everything. We had the horrible rain. He sends me a video the next day. Look, there's water leaking over the side of my house. Maybe you guys left debris in my, gutters. And I'm like, I know for a fact we didn't, because I actually have pictures. I make sure of that. And I tell my guys, and I don't have to tell them, they do a good job. But guess what? The next morning, my guys were there. The next morning, not 3 weeks from now, the next morning. And I have everything video. I have everything in writing. You know what I mean? All the proof of it. And they checked, and it's actually, he had leaves stuck in his gutter in a corner somewhere, exactly where the water's supposed to go down, because he's got trees above his house. So, by the way, now where it's blocking my panels, but it's in the corner. So, but my guys are not checking your gutters because they're not there to do your gutter, they're to do the roof, right? And they just make sure they're not putting anything in the gutters for it, right? Anyway, long story short, they showed him, first of all, his gutters were a little bit not, straight. And second of all, they were basically stuck with leaves. But they cleaned it for them. They actually as stabilized the gutters and everything for free. They didn't charge them nothing. So we were there the next day in the morning. As soon as I got that thing that day, the next day they were there and they took care of that without even charging him anything. That's what you want. These other people, you call them, and 3 weeks later they come to you. And you know what they'll say? Oh, it's a lease. We handle everything. Right. But what happens within the 1 or 2 months that they come to fix your situation? And meanwhile, you're paying Con Ed because you're not covered. Right. And right now, let's say you're not paying them as much as some other people would. But what if more panels go down and they come in a month and you're paying like $200 a month all of a sudden? Right.
Yeah.
So for that, we're going to get in a conference call with them if you don't mind. I'm happy to help. Or we're going
Yeah.
to tell them, are you going to give me money back for this? This
Well,
win?
that's what they mentioned to me, and I don't know how true it is. They said at the end of the year they kind of do an evaluation, and if the usage doesn't match what's
Do you know why they say that? Do you know why they say that? Because eventually it does catch up, but but you still paid money right now that they're not refunding you.
exactly.
I know all the little loopholes,
That's
all the
why I
little,
said like I'm not paying you until you show up and fix this. And then they call me 5 million times, and
and they will screw your credit. So you don't want to do that. No, no, no. You want to get results from them without hurting your own self. Okay. So absolutely follow up with me afterwards. Okay. We'll handle them.
okay.
Amazing. I know you have to go, Laura. You've got a full day ahead, and I know we have to get going and make our calls. One of the things that we're going to start to talk to our homeowners and potential homeowners is about solar, so we can connect them to Laura Neumann and get them going as well. Laura, thank you so much for your time. I know everybody's busy, so for you to take time out of your schedule, we really appreciate it. Your business card has already been shared with our team. So look out for their calls, and we look forward to doing business with you in the future.
Thank you so much. And may I just suggest one thing, please?
Please.
Any request, because you know how it is, we're always on the phones, okay? And my voicemail gets full in 3 seconds. So please shoot me a text. Please shoot me a text. Don't just like call me like, oh, I can't get on the phone. I promise you, I usually call back within 5 minutes, okay? And I always respond to text, even if I'm on a conference call. So text first. And the second thing is, if you send me a referral, the best thing to do, you might say, well, I told them to call you. The people don't call. So the best thing to do is a warm introduction, which is a group text between you, me, and the other person. Say, hey, Laura, this is Jill. She wants to get you solar. Then I can follow up with them. And not only that, now I have who sent me Jill. So I know this is the one that's getting the referral fee once we have the installation done.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Enjoy your weekend as
Thank you,
well.
Laura.
Gets here. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.